Well, good afternoon, viewers. I'm joined this afternoon by the man, the legend himself, Antonio Falco. Good afternoon, Mr. Falco.
Good afternoon, Paul, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. It was so good I actually want to listen to myself, so thank you for that.
Well, the check's in the post, I believe, so it'll all be fine. For those few people in the United Kingdom and the world that don't know who you are, would you mind just introducing yourself and saying what you do for a living, please?
Sure, thank you, Paul. My name is Antonio Falco, and my business is all about helping companies with sales and business development. My branding is as the sales director, so if you Google that or Google my name, you'll find lots about me, and hopefully some videos of some stuff I've been doing over the past few months that I hope will be of help, as I hope this video will be of help.
Good. Well, without further ado, as you know, I've been doing a series of lockdown videos, but lockdown has loosened. So following the theme, because I'm not too bright, and of course being Northern, I struggle with words, so my wife tells me anyway. This is now the loosening of lockdown questions. So question one, since lockdown has loosened to some extent and we're allowed to go out and be adults a little bit more than we did before, not quite fully, but a little bit more, what's the one thing that you found you're doing differently than before we were allowed to go out? So what's different to how it was before COVID-19 hit us?
From a work perspective, Paul? Or just
yes. And a personal perspective as well, if you like.
Well, from a work perspective, I think that's a very good question, because it also runs into how things going to look differently as we come out of lockdown altogether. How our working practice is going to change, and I think there are going to be a change in working practice for sure. And I think my working practice changes, if that's the right way of putting it, is that whilst I was on site a lot and seeing customers face to face, which I love doing and something I'm looking forward to going back and doing, and in fact started to do last week, there's going to be an awful lot of opportunities where I don't need to be out in front of them. We can do much more Zoom calls, team calls, Skype calls. So I think my business is going to change and beginning to change in terms of the type of meetings that I need to have. So I think I can have more of these types of meetings, although face-to-face meetings are critical. That's not going to change, because we are human beings, we're not human robots, and we cherish face-to-face meetings. I mean, there isn't anybody who hasn't missed seeing their relatives face-to-face. So I think that transfers itself into business, and sometimes you want to see the whites of people's eyes. So my working practice is going to change. It means I drive a bit less, which is great, but I think that's how it's going to change for me in terms of working practice. More use of technology, less maybe face to face, which just means you can do more as well. I think the capacity changes as well. But for sure, the technology I think needs to get better. What I've noticed in doing quite a number of the Zoom calls around the country is that broadband is key to this. So high quality broadband is absolutely key. I think you'll also see possibly other players coming in. So we have Teams at the moment, which essentially is Skype. We've got Skype and we've got Zoom. There's also another organisation that I used last year with an American company that was based in California. They used a product called Blue Jeans, which I've only ever used once with them, but it was this type of product. So I think you might see more new online conferencing type products coming along. But for sure, that technology needs to get better. I think it was Lewis in one of your previous programs that said, I realise now I needed a better camera. Well, if I had known, I would have got a better camera and a better microphone. So that's certainly going to change for me.
That's interesting, because I've been doing Learn Live, as they're called, by one of the training providers I do for training for other lawyers. I've been using a webcam for the past few years, and they've been hammering me to get a better camera and a better mic. So I upgraded my laptop, and that seems to have done the trick. So I was well prepared. Question two. So on your return to work, well, not that you stopped working, I should say, but on your return to this new life that we're living in, what has impressed you the most during lockdown, and who has impressed you the most, and what's impressed you the most since you've come back, I suppose is what I want to say.
Gosh, that's a really good question. I'm not saying that because you're my solicitor, my lawyer, and I'm on your program, but that is genuinely, and by the way, folks, it's a fantastic property lawyer. Well, I get that plug in for you.
Checks in the post, another checks in the post.
Absolutely, there you go. what's impressed me the most, Paul, and I mean this in the right way, and I'll explain it. The little people have impressed me more. People like me, like not me personally, but people who are ordinary folks that are doing an ordinary job and running a business, and have just gone on with life. The ordinary people have impressed me the most. Because they've figured out ways of helping each other, both locally. I mean, our little road here, we set up a WhatsApp group. We're helping each other. We make sure everybody's okay. We're delivering stuff to each other, and that's happening around the country. So the coming together of people, of the people, for the people, I think has been fantastic. And I'm hoping that, and I think it will continue on. I'm hoping it will just continue on forever, not just for the next few months and then we forget about it. That's what's impressed me the most. I remember in the early days of lockdown when you were allowed to go out for an hour's walk or run or cycle, and the roads are absolutely empty, Paul. Very little traffic. In fact, it was like the 1950s when you saw a car, you looked at the car that was coming past on the road, and wondered what it was. But people that were walking, past each other were acknowledging each other. Some were just giving a smile, some were saying hello, and that never happened before. That sort of stuff happens when you're on holiday and abroad somewhere, but it never happened in everyday life here. So I like that. So it's the little people that what has unimpressed me are the people at the top. And our damn all politicians and downwards, the vast majority of them have been unimpressive. I think that whilst a lot of people think the government have run this, and it's not a part of the political point, by the way, Paul, it's just a general review. Whilst everybody thinks the government's done what they can and made the right decisions, overall, I think they've been unimpressive. Overall, I think that you've seen a lot of politicians who can barely string a sentence together, let alone an idea. And these are the people that you have to have confidence in that are actually making decisions that are literally life and death. I've been very unimpressed. And so, that's not impressed me. Some of the big businesses haven't impressed me. When you've got big companies, big international corporates that are asking for handouts because they've got barely a month's money in the bank, I think that's a shoddy way of running a business. But there's an awful lot of small businesses that have more than a month's money in the bank, and have actually got proper financial planning in place. So that's been very unimpressive. When you've got multi-billionaires that are asking for their dividends to be paid out to their Monaco accounts, I think that's pretty poor. So that's been very unimpressive. Controversial, I don't care. That's unimpressive. So what I'm hoping, Paul, is that what we have out of this, when we come out the other side, is we have what I'm calling the Great Reckoning. And the Great Reckoning is that we're all in it together, and that this massive bill that the country now has, for the right reasons, right, isn't going to be dumped on the little people, and that everybody's going to be chipping in, and the big corporates are actually going to pay their way, and it isn't just down to us. So the big reckoning is that we're all in it together. You remember that phrase under David Cameron's premiership, yes. We're all in it together. They soon dropped it when they realised we weren't in it all together. Certainly they didn't want to be in it all together. That's when they dropped it. So no, the big reckoning is this is not just down to the little people anymore. Everybody has to pay.
No, I try to avoid the bill at present because the bill scares me because I'm thinking my kids are going to have to pay it back. But hey, they just have less inheritance from me because I'll get taxed more. That's the way I'm looking at it. So I prepared them. So question 3, you and I are both involved in property. I deal with people who've got lots of properties. You've got clients who've got portfolios of residential and predominantly commercial as well as industrial units. What do you think the biggest change to the property industry is going to be when now that we're through the lockdown period on its most serious level, we hope, and that things are loosening off? What do you think the biggest change will be to property?
Well, I think commercially, I was saying to a few people a couple of months back that when we started this lockdown, everybody was working from home. And for an awful lot of companies, remember there's 8.5 million people in furlough at the moment, so they're not working. But that does mean that about 20 million people are working. About 20 million, about 16, 17 million people are working. Okay, and a lot of those people are working from home. So there's an awful lot of companies who are service-based companies that have an awful lot of staff going to an office who are now all working from home. And I think, and I said to a couple of my pals, say at the beginning of this, I said, I'm reckoning there's an awful lot of companies that are now saying to themselves, why do we need £10 million worth of offices in the middle of London when we're all working from home? So I think that the change might be that they might say to themselves, we'll shrink our office space because actually a lot of people can work from home, but we recognise the need that people actually want to come to the office. It's good for people to come and meet with other colleagues and and have that working environment. But what I think will change, Paul, is that instead of going in 5 days a week, you might go in 2 days a week. So Paul, Anne, and Frank, you come in on Monday and Wednesday. Julie, John, and Richard, you come in on Tuesday and Thursday. And maybe once a quarter we'll change that around so that you get to meet other colleagues. But the rest of the time, let's see if we can set you up working from home. Because for sure, Paul, I think nobody is missing getting on the train at 7:15 in the morning to get into Waterloo and paying £6,000 out of your net salary for the privilege. Nobody's missing that. So no, I think there's going to be some real serious changes about that. And I was listening to a financial program just the other day. I think the CEO of one of the big finance companies, international finance company, I can't remember what it's called, I'm desperate to remember, but he's based in London, and he was asked the question, can you cope with not having your people back? They had 80,000 people around the world working at home, by the way. Can you cope with people not coming back in the office? What was his answer, Paul? Yes. Yeah. And you think, wow, they're probably going to sell their £90 million building to somebody or something. So I think that's going to change. Residentially, I think people are starting to say to themselves, if I don't have to come to the office in London every day or a big city, can I live outside of the big city? Because I can cope going in twice a week and it's a bit of a pain, but I'll happily pay for the ticket, that's fine. But you know what, if I can work from home and have a garden, have a slightly bigger house, then maybe that's a smart thing to do. Not that people are never going to live in the cities. I think people are. I think people are going to have a flat, and that's fine. That's never going to change, and your business will do well out of that. But I think your business will do well in terms of people wanting to now think seriously about moving out and buying something outside of a city. They're my thoughts, anyway.
No, I agree with that. It's interesting to say about working from home, because obviously I've been working at home since March, and I work with my wife. She has the study, I have the kitchen. We never meet each other. We never met each other at work. We don't meet each other here. Well, the thing is, I've got a kettle. Luckily, she doesn't drink many hot drinks. But I speak to other law firms. Like before I came on this call with you, I tried to get hold of the firm. They said, "Oh, sorry, so-and-so's working from home still." I said, "Well, can you transfer me through to it?" "No, we can't." Well, we've had that technology. Most other firms have that technology.
Absolutely, yeah.
Haven't invested. It's too late for them to invest now, and that sadly, there will be a lot of firms, whether the law firms or general businesses, are going to struggle because they didn't put the investment in the anticipation that we might have problems like this.
Mm-hmm. I think what you might find, though, Paul, is you might say to your wife, well, look, I know you've got the study, but actually I now, as I'm going to be here permanently, sort of 3 days a week, you might say to yourself, well, let's figure out how I can make my working environment a bit more comfortable. I don't want to sit in the kitchen. How can we turn one of the bedrooms or something, or maybe look at an external, I don't know, shed you can put in the garden.
I had a shepherd's hut idea a few years ago, getting shepherd's hut and renting it out in our back garden. Now I might just get a shepherd's hut and live in it, and work, of course.
There you go. So I think that's how things might change. Commercially, companies are saying, do we need the offices? And residentially, people are saying, do you know what? Because I think what's happened during this lockdown, I don't know about you, Paul, but for me, there's been a slowing of pace. Yes. A bit more relaxed pace, which I kind of like and don't like. There's two sides to me, that you love the fast pace and the other stuff. But I think people have started to actually benefit from a slightly better quality of life. We all go abroad on holiday. We go to Spain, Greece, Italy, and what have you, and France, and they seem to be living a slightly better pace of life, eating better food and drinking better wine. And then we come home and go, why can't we have some of that? But I think actually things might change towards that. Who knows?
Hopefully. The Wall Street mentality that I used to find sometimes when I was in the office on a Friday afternoon, which is buy, sell, lots of exchanges, that seems to have calmed down slightly. It's still a bit as busy property-wise. Certainly I've been, because the contacts I've got have kept me busy, and I've known a long time. Others haven't been so fortunate in other law firms. But I found that even those sort of calls have become a little bit more relaxed and not as clipped, and Every email has to begin, "How are you? I hope you're well," which before it never was.
Absolutely.
So,
Do you find people are becoming more forgiving then, Paul?
some are, some aren't. Some people will never change no matter what, and that comes through. So question 4, who did you miss the most during lockdown that you couldn't see or you still can't see now?
Well, I was lucky because all my children were at home. So my son came home from university. I think, when did he come back? I think he came back middle of March because they just closed university. Ironically, he's at York University studying physics, and so that's where this pandemic started. So, a Chinese student come back from China. So they closed the university, and he's been home. He's only just gone back for a couple of weeks just to sort some things out for the house he's living at. But so my eldest daughter, well, they stopped college, so she was mortified about that, and I feel for them. And then my youngest is going to be going to GCSE next year, so they've all been at home. Unfortunately, I don't have parents anymore, and my wife has a father who lives out in France because of French. So we've done a lot of Skype and Zoom and goodness knows what, and WhatsApp actually, quite a lot of that. So in immediate family, they've all been at home, and it's worked out pretty well actually. It's worked out really well. I would say that because I've got my own home office, so I can just close the door behind me and say thank you and goodbye. But so it's easy for me to say that I'm privileged in that position. Well, not privileged, I work for it. That's not been so bad. I mean, my brother, who lives a few miles away, we've done the usual family Zoom calls. My sister lives about 5 doors away from me on the cul-de-sac we live in, so I can't get away from her, so I see her. But you know, we see each other from a distance. It's been fine. I don't feel like I've missed anybody as such. There's some friends I've missed seeing, for sure. So I'm hoping that will change soon. And who knows?
Well, I'm hoping that it will change soon, because I think my wife will probably either, well, she won't leave me, she'll just stab me if she doesn't get some different human interaction at some point. So I was trying to claim credit the other day because I put the washing out. I said, look, the benefits of working at home, I can put the washing out on the line. I said, have you done the washing up? Have you done this? Have you done that? To put the washing in the first place? I went, baby steps, Sarah, baby steps. I'm making some progress on things. So
I did the ironing.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's progress. That's why I said it's progress. So last but not least, what's the one thing that you're still not allowed to do because of social distancing measures that you're missing the most, that you look forward to be able to do when this is all gone away? Assuming, of course, one day it is all gone away.
Well, we can only pray and hope, Paul, because otherwise we're not going to be human beings, are we? If we can't, I just, you know. So a couple of, let me think, as I think, a couple of immediate things. So something very lucky. I've got, probably like all of you, I've got a couple of pubs across the road from me, literally. So they're a 2-minute walk. Now, I don't normally go to the pub because I never have time to. In the old days, pre-lockdown, I was just too busy and got home late and then went. Now, I cannot wait to get over to the pub just for the hell of it, if nothing else. Unfortunately, I heard the news today, and I hope it's, but apparently they're going to be opening on the 22nd of June. Those that had an outside garden, so that makes sense. But apparently, I've just heard today that may not be the case either, which is going to be a little bit distressing. But going to the pub, my daughter was 18 in the lockdown period, and when my son was 18, I took him out for a pub lunch, just father and son. So I want to do a father and daughter lunch for her 18th. So I'm looking forward to that. Business-wise, going out and seeing people. I love going out and seeing people. I look forward to coming and having a cup of coffee and a lunch with you, Paul. So, you know, I think I like to be around people.
Yeah, it's the people thing that's been the thing I've missed, because I can interact with people over the screen. I've done a lot. And if I pop into the office like I did this morning, there's a couple of people in the office, but our office holds 80 odd people in the Jansport office where I'm predominantly based. And you're looking there going, there's a lot of desks here, there's no one here. It's very quiet. And, you know, the upside, there's plenty of car parking spaces for me to park very badly in the car park. But yeah, one day, I can't say when it'll be, one day we'll look back at what's happened in 2020, and I hope it'll be a learning experience for all of us.
I hope so, and I think there are, I hate this phrase because governments use it too often, there are lessons to be learned,
Yes.
and I hope that we come out as better people, better business, better everything at the other end of it. We can only hope, Paul.
Well, exactly. We can only hope. It's the way forward on things. So I'd like to end it there. Thank you very much, sir, for all your comments. Antonio's details will come up at the end. As I say, he has starred as the sales director. I have read his book, which is very insightful. And I would say to anyone that's thinking that they might be struggling with their business or wants to grow their business, that I've used Antonio's services in the past. I've always found him to be very pragmatic and thinking outside the box, which is a bit of a cliche, but he approaches things from, well, hang on, explain to me what you're doing. Have you ever thought about doing it like this? And it's the fact that he's not closed off and he's full of ideas that I've always found a benefit. So I'd heartily endorse that. So thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thank you.
All right, speak soon.